Hey, hi everybody. Ray Flook, television beat writer, the Weekly Static. You know the whole deal. I want to start off being a little open and honest about something. I don't know if you guys know, I can never figure out the best way to open up these segments. I don't know if I should be like posing, should I do that whole walk on camera like, hey, didn't see you here, but all that just seems so staged and phony. So if you guys have any recommendations of the best way to open this thing, I'm all ears. I can hear it through my way trying too hard trendy hat, which by the way is yeah, which is why I like it. It's kind of cool. But anywho, hi, Ray Flook, television beat writer for Bleeding Cool. This is the Weekly Static. What is the Weekly Static? This is that time where we look back at five important issues from this past week's worth of Bleeding Cool television coverage. Interesting topics that hopefully I can give an funny, thought-provoking, maybe even angering perspective on. One thing I always urge, always love the interaction, always love the feedback. So if you have any thoughts, please list them below down here. If you're watching on YouTube, you can also hit me up and send me comments through the form below on the actual post. So love to hear from you guys. You guys have been sending me in some good responses, and we've been tweaking this all along. So yeah, start thinking theme music, by the way. It's kind of a cool theme going into this. So yeah. So as I said, we're going to be taking a look at the 5 things. Why do we look at 5 things? Because I'm way too obsessed with John Cusack, and I'm way too obsessed with a number of his films, in this case being High Fidelity. If you haven't seen High Fidelity, what is wrong with you? You need to go see it. But more specifically, even if you can't see it yet, go on YouTube, look up the scene where he's doing the top 5 things that he loves about his girl. And yeah, that's just really, really good quality stuff. So as a homage to John Cusack, and because top 5s are generic, so you got to give kind of a unique spin on them, these are our top 5 things for the Weekly Static for the past week, starting with number 5. Comedy Central has renewed Daniel Tosh's contract through 2020. For those of you who don't know, Daniel Tosh has kind of risen above the heap of clip show talk funny things, primarily because he's a comedian who just doesn't give a rat's ass. He covers anyone, everything, equal opportunity stand-up comic. He doesn't always rub everybody the right way. I respect him in the sense that I respect this idea that comedy shouldn't have any standards. Again, the more risky you go with the joke, the more chance you generally take in a reaction. But I also know what it's like when you go daring and the people love it. Just how comedy can change societies. Just look at Saturday Night Live. You know, it's again, I don't speak objectively about Saturday Night Live, but when you look at the impact it had in the 1970s on comedy and the impact it's still having today, it's insane. But it took a risk. It took a gamble. So nice to see. It's nice to see Tosh Point is becoming not becoming, but is a tentpole for Comedy Central. But now, especially with Netflix snatching up comedians and paying big money for new stand-up specials, I'm sure Comedy Central want to make sure they hit Daniel Tosh locked in as soon as possible. So that was number 5. Number 4, we're going to be taking a look at Ric Flair. Yes, one of my favorite professional wrestlers of all time. And love and respect to Drew Terror, who's really done a great job in bringing wrestling back to the site, and everybody else who's been jumping on it too. We have some great Monday Night Raw recaps that go on too, I believe, from Baltimore Lauren. So we've become really good with pro wrestling, and I'm excited about that. But Ric Flair, in typical Ric Flair fashion, started advertising something called the Wooooo compromise. And what essentially was a way to make sure that there was no confusion between 2 consenting adults when they were going to have sex. And it's $50 and it's a contract, and yeah, you would understand why it's just not a good idea on a variety of levels, especially when you're Ric Flair and you're still in good terms and you're still kind of an ambassador and a legend for the WWE, and you still go out there and speak on their behalf. Needless to say, it didn't take long for that to get shut down. But again, Rick, God bless him, guy almost died like just a couple months ago, and now he's just out being Ric Flair, the wheelin' dealin', kiss stealing guy. It's Ric Flair's one of those guys you don't ever want to hear like passed away in a shower or something like that. That just would be like, no, he needs to be. I was gonna say on a plane crash, but that just So we're just gonna move on that. So that was number 4. Number 3, the CW is expanding to the weekends, and I'm very curious to see what programming they choose to go with, specifically Saturday, because I think that can be very interesting. Do they go the daring route like Fox did with the X-Files, Eon back in the day? Do they go with more solid, straightforward programming like Fox used to do with like Cops and shows like that? Sunday, I think, could be very, very interesting because I think Sunday is a big toss-up. The thing about Sunday, though, is right now you got, as much as people want to talk about The Walking Dead is still a huge ratings juggernaut. Plus, you are always up against major things on Sundays. You got football that's going on. You got WWE pay-per-views that are going on, and then also tends to be the night when you see a lot of awards and special events. So Sunday's going to be tough for CW. I think you got to put some heavy hitters on there. I know there was talk of the Wayward Sisters, the spinoff from Supernatural, being a part of it. So I'd be curious to see, but I think it's a smart move. I think it's funny that I'm looking forward to the point where we just don't even have schedules anymore. I'm surprised we still do that. It's not at the point where it's just like, hey, we're just going to upload the episode at Sunday at 12:01 a.m. and you schedule it yourself. I think that's pretty much the direction we're going, but it still makes me nostalgic for the days of the fall TV guide issue, which was like a national holiday to me for like 4 years of my young, unsuspecting life. I actually thought it was a holiday. So that's number 3. Number 2, Reed Pop and Sci-Fi Wire have entered into an agreement to live stream portions of this year's New York Comic Con, Emerald City Comic Con, and C2E2, which is Chicago Comic and Expo and Entertainment Expo. Yeah, I know I just slaughtered that. I think that's why most people call it C2E2. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a long time coming. I think one of the things we talk about here at Bleeding Cool is this: when we do convention coverage, it's the idea of giving people in other areas of the country who can't make it out there this feeling like it's the next best thing to being there. And I think this is a good way of going for it. In full disclosure, I do a little side work that's affiliated with Sci-Fi Wire, so I just want to make sure that that's out there. And that's not in any way, shape, or form, tainting my opinion, because again, I think anybody who'd be siding up with Repop to do live streaming, I think is a fantastic idea, and I'm looking forward to it. The fact that you're going to be able to see it through social media, on the website, and also portions of it on the network, I think are going to be awesome too. Again, the more we can get these things out there and the exposure and what they're about, and also I'm glad to see there's going to be some concentration on panels. I think sometimes we're so concerned about getting the big name star up there that we forget, the panels are a really, really great portion of these events. So very excited about that. So that was number 2. And number 1, surprisingly, my interest in this has been growing for some time, but they released our first look, teaser, whatever they want to call it, 900 different words for all the different clips people send out, for YouTube Red's Cobra Kai, which reunites Ralph Macchio and William Zabka in their roles as Daniel LaRusso and Johnny Lawrence, respectively, from The Karate Kid. And it essentially follows what happens after the end of the first movie. I'm not sure if it's incorporating the second movie or not. I'm not positive on that. But clearly, it incorporates the first. And it looks like it's a mix of comedy and drama and how their lives kind of entwine themselves back again. It's interesting. When I first heard about it, I was like, okay, well, props to Ralph Macchio and William Zabka for getting a nice cash payout. Good on him. But the more I've seen on it and looking at the teaser trailer, there is serious potential there. This idea of revisiting it and looking at the themes of it, like these two were kids. Like, what happened after all of these years? Like, you saw that Johnny had some kind of resistance and resentment to the idea of really, really going out and injuring Daniel. You see Daniel, what was his life like after the passing of Mr. Miyagi? So I think it's interesting. It's a very interesting premise that if it succeeds, I'd be curious to see if other networks would be looking to do forms of that. But I like the premise. I think they're bringing nuances to their characters, and there's other aspects to it that I know about that didn't come across in the trailer that I don't want to spoil for everybody because you'll see it when it comes out. But definitely check that out. It was the teaser trailer for Cobra Kai that's going to be on YouTube Red. I think it looks really, really fantastic. All right, folks, that's our top 5 for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed them. Don't forget this guy right here, Ray Fluck, television beat writer for Bleeding Cool. We do the weekly static every week, and as I said, we are a constant work in progress. We are looking for your feedback. So any thoughts, any ideas, any commentaries, anything you'd like to see, please let me know. Hit me up either through YouTube or hit me up through, again, the Cognito forums that are going to be at the bottom here also. We're going to be getting, I think, comments back again soon, but until then, you can hit me up through there. But again, hope you guys have a great weekend, great start to your Friday night, and I will see you guys on bleedingcool.com and see you guys here next week for our next edition of the Weekly Static. Take care, folks.